welcome to my channel, Taylor Talks Tales. Today I have a book review for you on a book that I actually read a while ago, but it's so underrated in my opinion, and because I'm also reading a book by the same author, I figured I might as well do a review on it, and that is Suffer the Children by Greg DiLouie. And also, look at that cover. Basically got a creepy doll head with a fly on it. It's great. So, I'm going to read the blurb on the back, and then we're going to just dive right on into this. It begins on an ordinary day. Children around the world are dying. All children everywhere. A global crisis beyond any parent's worst nightmare. Then, a miracle beyond imagining. 3 days later, they return. Shattered mothers and fathers see their sons and daughters happy and whole once more, playing and laughing as before, but only when they feed. They hunger for blood, and they can't get enough upon which to feast. Without it, they die again. How far would you go to keep someone you love alive? Alright, so this book, I read it actually about, I think 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, and this was incredible. It is very literary, I would say, for a horror book, and I had no expectations going into it. I saw it on some sort of indie horror list. It was a suggestion based off of something else I'd been interested in at the time. So I picked it up and was just blown away by it. So pretty much what happens in this book is there are, every single child in the entire world dies. Not all at once. It's kind of more like a wave, like it starts at one point and then just goes throughout the entire planet. So what's even just super cruel is there are some parents who know it's coming and their kids just die, and it's awful, and they have to deal with this huge loss. Pretty much in this book it takes place primarily in a small town in Michigan, but they're faced with 90,000 bodies. How do you dispose of 90,000 bodies? And it just shows the aftermath of some huge catastrophe. And I think that's what I really like about this book, is that even though there's supernatural elements to it, a lot of it feels extremely real. Like how people would handle things, how they would react, how they would process something is very realistic, I think, and it's really good exploration into mass casualties and loss and grief and what you would do for someone you love and all of that. These details, after a lot of children died, there are just huge uptake in suicides and just all of this stuff. And then when the kids come back, so 3 days later they come back, and of course they've been in the ground for 3 days, so they're all starting to rot a little bit and smell awful, but the parents are so overjoyed and overwhelmed that their kids are back that everyone's happy. Or for the most part, there are some parents, and they detail in the book, who are sort of conflicted and confused and trying to figure out what's going on. And everyone learns very quickly that these kids need blood. Not animal blood or meat or anything, they need human blood. Once they have human blood, they reanimate and basically act like kids again. Just normal kids too, not even creepy kids. They need blood to survive. And that's what's interesting in this book too, is that the children who come back are not the monsters. It's the situation and some of the parents or people who are really motivated to keep their kids alive at all cost. Because the thing is that when the kids come back, they need blood, and if they don't get the blood, not only do they just kind of stop moving and essentially die, they start to rot. And then they'll rot away and be gone forever, basically. So you're kind of torn between what are you supposed to do, and all of a sudden there are runs on blood banks and people who are getting attacked and abducted for their blood, and it just becomes this whole big thing. And the way it's written and portrayed makes it feel very realistic despite the supernatural elements to it. And it impacts kids who are prepubescent, so there are still teenagers, and it's not a cut and dry thing, because it has to do with puberty and stuff. So it's not one of those pet peeves of mine where it's as soon as you turn 18 something happens. It feels more realistic than that. And it just really is this exploration of the dark side of humanity and how far you would go. Because there are some parents in here who start out fairly normal and just descend into just doing things that they never would have expected ever in a million years to be doing for their children. So I thought that was incredible because it keeps you going. It's very entertaining, and it just sucks you in, and you just want to know what happens next, and you just keep going, keep going, keep going. It's an excellent page turner, but it also is very philosophical, and it makes you question a lot and think about a lot. And yeah, it's one of my top favorite horror books because of that, because it just explores so much and it covers a lot of ground. And when the book ended, I just sat there like, oh, sometimes when you finish a really good book, you get those kind of tingles, or I do anyway, where I'm just like, oh, shivers, and oh no, it's over, I'm so sad. And I always try to recommend this to people because unlike a lot of the books I recommend, this one I don't think a lot of people really have read. It's not super popular just because I think Greg DiLouie is a fairly new author, and I don't think he's been able to have the reach that he deserves. But this was amazing. I highly recommend it. 5 out of 5 stars. Just know going into it that there are dead children, and it gets very intense. It's not a book that you can just cuddle up with and be, feeling good after reading it, especially with the end. I'm not going to give away anything, of course, but it is very dark. But I like dark fiction, and I really enjoyed it a lot, so please check it out. Supper for the Children by Craig DiLouie. Recommend it. And then I will be posting a review on Our War when I finish it. I have to finish Little Heaven first, do a review on that, and then I'll be reviewing Our War when I finish it. And I might at some point also post a spoilery review of this too, because there's a lot going on in this book. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to my review. I hope that you enjoyed it. And have a great evening. Please comment, rate, subscribe, and happy reading.